Hello everyone and thanks for joining. I'm Dave here at Electronic Music Collective, a premier music production and DJ training facility located here in New York City. I, myself, am a DJ, producer, record collector, and label tech aficionado here at EMC. And we've put together this series to kind of help you guys get up and running, save you some time and money, and hopefully help you avoid issues that we definitely did have to encounter here at EMC. We've been showing you guys a live stream gear checklist to make your intro into live streaming a little bit more seamless. In our last show that we did last week, we covered lighting. So if you missed that one, definitely go to our YouTube channel and check that one out. Now, the fourth item from that checklist that we're going to focus on today is internet speeds and bandwidth for live streaming. So if you missed anything from last week, like we said, check us out on our YouTube channel, and gear links will be down below in the description. And a quick disclaimer, this video and show, it's not sponsored or being sponsored. So yeah, let's just jump into it. How many times have you seen your favorite artists live streaming a DJ set or performing live, and it's coming out pixelated or freezing up, and it just looks and sounds terrible? What is live streaming exactly? Live streaming, it's a creative way of delivering audio and video to audiences around the world using the internet. So in order to even do a live stream, you're going to need an internet connection and access to streaming destinations, otherwise known as CDNs or content delivery networks. Such networks are like YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Twitch, and many others. These networks will receive the stream from your encoder, such as your cell phone or your broadcast software like OBS or vMix from your computer. Now, what exactly is internet bandwidth? Internet bandwidth, it's the amount of data that could be transferred between your computer and your internet service provider, also known as your ISP. Now, your internet connection that you pay for has a bandwidth limit, which acts as a funnel between your computer and the internet. So really quick, bear with me everybody, I know this is a difficult subject to make fun, but let's talk about internet speeds. So kilobits or kilobits per second, basically 1,000 kilobits equals 1 megabit. And 1 kilobit is equal to 1,000 bits per second. So that means, let's just say a 300 kilobit per second connection can transfer 300,000 bits in 1 second. So with that being said, 1,000 kilobits per second is equal to 1 megabit per second. So let's talk about megabits. Megabits per second, 1,000 megabits is basically equal to 1 gigabit. 2 gigabits would be 2,000 megabits per second, and so on and so forth. So let's talk about, how exactly do you check your network speed? We use a service out there that's called speedtest.net, and we do a speed test. And these speed tests will give you an accurate reading of your download and your upload speeds. So we recommend that you test on a different day at the same time that you plan on doing your live stream, so you can get an accurate depiction of the network traffic at that time. Network traffic can fluctuate at your location based on the time of day, and if your internet connection is being shared with other users as well, that as well could have an effect. So let's talk about Rtmp. What is Rtmp? Rtmp is real-time messaging protocol. Now, when you live stream, you're using your upload bandwidth to send that data to a social media platform. Most live streams use a data transferring method called Rtmp, which compresses your audio and your video sources. So the higher you set your bit rate, the more data you're going to be able to send. Also, the higher your bit rate, the higher the quality of your live stream is going to be. You shouldn't use more than half of your total upload speeds for your Rtmp stream. What is bit rate? Bit rate describes the rate at which bits are transferred from one location to another. So in other words, it measures how much data is transmitted in a given amount of time. Bit rate is commonly measured in kilobits per second or megabits per second, and lowering your bit rate can help your computer by giving it less data to process, taking a big strain off of your CPU. So what bit rate should you use? Bit rate should be set depending on the resolution and the frame rate of the production. So the higher the resolution and frame rate, the higher the bit rate should be set to. Now, what exactly are download and upload speeds? Your internet connection's download speed shows you how many bits of data your computer can take in from the internet. So usually the download speed is measured in megabits per second. And with your upload, your internet connection's upload speed shows you how many bits of data your computer can send out from the internet. So upload speed is what you use to send a stream out to those social media platforms. And just like the download, upload speed is measured in megabits per second as well. And for live streaming, it's your internet connection's upload speed that really matters the most. So if you're creating a beat or want to share a live mix of you performing on the turntables or on a drum machine, your upload speed is going to be crucial for this to happen successfully. Typically, when people sign up for internet packages, their download will be much higher than their upload, and instantly people are going to think that they're covered. And this is fine for wanting to watch something like Netflix and downloading stuff from the internet, but for live streaming, you're also going to need a high upload speed, and we recommend you have between 10 to 50 megabits per second upload speed. This gives you some nice headroom. And for example, Facebook, they use a max of 4 megabits per second, and a 4 megabits per second 720p stream at 30 frames per second, if you only have a 10 megabit per second upload in your package, that's only really going to leave you about 6 megabits per second of headroom. So the more upload speed you have, the more headroom that you're going to have. So what's a good upload speed for streaming? Live streaming, it definitely chews up a lot of bandwidth. What do you do when your stream is glitchy and buffering? What even causes your stream to buffer? Some factors that can contribute to these glitchiness and buffering. First is the type of content that you want to stream, or even the platforms that you're streaming to could contribute to that. Another thing is, encoding. Encoders take audio and video sources and encode them into a stream for social media platforms. Encoders use compression to combine audio and video into a reliable live stream. Software encoders would be things like OBS, vMix, Wirecast, excuse me. Encoding introduces definitely a small level of latency. Video resolution. We recommend streaming at a resolution with a 16:9 aspect ratio, and it's best to either match your original video source or scale it down. For example, capturing an HD 720 stream at HD 720, or capture at HD 720 and stream it at 540 high. You should never, it's okay to kind of scale down, but you should never be scaling up and streaming at a higher resolution than your original video source. For example, it doesn't make sense to capture, say, an HD 720 stream at 1080. You'll have to gain in quality, and you're using more bandwidth than is necessary for you and your viewers. So be aware that higher resolutions require greater processing power to encode that stream. Attempting too high of a resolution on too little processing power can result in degraded image quality and interrupted streams for your streams and your recordings. So what about the frame rate of your stream? Frame rates as well can contribute to this, and frame rates should always match the frame rate of the video source. The NTSC standard equipment typically operates at 30 frames per second, and in that case, encoding parameters should be configured to match the source frame rate of 30 frames per second. PAL or PAL standard equipment typically operates at 25 frames per second, and in that case, encoding parameters should be configured to match 25 frames per second for the source frame. Now, here's a few bitrate recommendations, and we'll start with some free platforms. Facebook Live, for instance. Facebook Live recommends a max bitrate of 4 megabits per second. Another one, YouTube Live. YouTube Live recommends a range between 1,500 and 4,000, which would equate kilobits per second, which would equate to 4 megabits per second for video. And Twitch recommends a range between 2,500 and 4,000 kilobits per second, which would equal about 4 megabits per second for video. Now, those were a few free platforms. There are some private platforms out there, if you don't mind spending a couple extra dollars. Vimeo is one. 2 megabits per second can produce a 720p stream, whereas 5 megabits per second is the maximum bit rate that Vimeo would recommend for a 1080p stream. So if you're streaming with a bit rate significantly less than 2 megabits per second, then your stream is going to appear pixelated and you're going to get a lot of lag. Another private platform out there is called Decast, and for a 720p video, a 1.5 to a 4 megabits per second upload is good, and for an HD 1080p video, 3 to 6 megabits per second is a good upload speed. There's another one out there called StreamShark, and 6 megabits per second is a max bit rate for a 1080p high def stream, and 3 megabits per second upload for a 720p stream is good. Now let's kind of talk about your ISP, your internet service provider, for a second. I'm currently using Verizon Fios, which is dedicated fiber. I love these guys. It's all underground, so you get a more dedicated speed, and it's fiber optic technology, so you get a better experience at home, and there's a lot less fluctuation. The other option that's out there, and Fios and fiber isn't necessarily available in everybody's area. So here in New York, another option that's not fiber is more of a coaxial option, and that's Spectrum. And these guys, I'm not talking bad about them or anything, but the tap can be found a lot of times on the roof of a building, and then the cables run down the side of a building and into the basement or something of that building, and it's basically a shared system with your building or even your neighborhood or your block, and there's a lot more fluctuation. That fluctuation can be anywhere between 5 and 6 megabits per second, especially if you're on Wi-Fi. So if streaming to Facebook, which is going to need 4 megabits per second, once it goes below 4 megabits per second, the stream will begin to buffer and the audio is going to get out of sync with the video frames, and then it's going to turn into a train wreck disaster. It's not going to sound or look good. So call your ISP, try to get the fastest upload speed in your area, upgrade if you can, and see if fiber is offered in your area. Now, what if you can't necessarily afford to run out and upgrade to a higher package with your internet service provider? Here's a few things that you can do to help improve your upload speed. Let's talk about Wi-Fi for a second. Don't use Wi-Fi for your live stream. Just don't do it. The Wi-Fi bandwidth, it's shared by the other devices on your network, and these shared devices are all going to be interfering with your stream. Wi-Fi might be good, when it comes to watching YouTube videos on your phone, or checking social media, watching Netflix or Amazon Prime movies on your laptop, but not good for a stream. It's just not consistent enough, and it's a recipe for disaster. We recommend you use a hardwire. But when live streaming, you want to have a hardwire connection because it gives you less interference and it gives you more stability, which is going to lead to a better stream quality. So a wire connection is connecting a Cat6 Ethernet cable, shown above, into an available port on your router. Then you're going to want to connect the other end directly into your laptop. So on a lot of newer Macs, there isn't a Cat6 port or an Ethernet port directly in the laptop like the older models. So you're going to need an Ethernet adapter or a Usbc hub to connect directly to that laptop. I know a lot of PCs have that Cat6 port built into the laptop. But talking about a Cat6 Ethernet cable, I know it sounds like overkill, but we recommend you get like a 50-footer. Depending on how far you are from your router, having a long enough Cat6 cable won't restrict you to just be in one location. This is going to give you the ability to move around, and if your studio or where you're trying to stream from is kind of far from your router, then you're not going to have to move things around and be working around the router. You can make it happen with a 50-foot cable. Another thing that we would recommend is an Ethernet adapter. This particular model that we're showing you, I love this one because it actually has some LED indicators that let you know that you've got a solid connection and that it's working. So that's an option for you as well. And then another option is a Usbc hub. A Usbc hub will allow you to connect an Ethernet cable, and it also gives you some extra USB and even HDMI. So having these items available will definitely help ensure that you have a solid stream. Just wrap up that 50-foot cable when you're done so nobody trips over it. Let's talk about devices on your network. These as well can contribute to a lower upload speed. So you want to remove excess devices from your network. Laptops that aren't being used, tablets, phones, security cameras. You'll be surprised the types of things that we've heard and seen. We've seen cloud backups happening at the same time as a live stream. These all take up bandwidth at the end of the day, and you don't want your internet connection to be crowded when you want to start streaming, which is at the end of the day it's gonna affect your upload speed. So here's another big one that we definitely need to cover, and that's your computer specs. You want to check your CPU and your RAM usage. Make sure you have enough memory. We recommend at least an i7 processor with 16 gigs of RAM for live streaming. If you can't run out and purchase a new computer and your CPU and your RAM are both running high and causing glitches, you could stream at the resolution of the incoming video. So if you wanted to stream at, say, 720 resolution, make sure the video coming into your computer is 720 as well. This way your computer isn't having to scan the video, which is going to be taxing on the CPU. A lot of times people think that the freezing or the buffering is mainly from the bandwidth, but it could be their computer, which simply just doesn't have enough disk space. Another thing that we'd recommend, close any open programs and apps that are on your computer. You don't want to be trying to go live and Spotify's open and you've just got all these other apps that are open and killing your CPU at the same time. The only thing that should be uploading when you stream is your encoder. So your computer should be dedicated to the stream. Any other tasks happening on that laptop will only take away from the continuous stream of the video data that your computer is trying to process. Your bit rate as well can contribute to a low upload speed. Your bit rate should be half of your upload speed. That's assuming that your internet connection is being dedicated to your stream. Like we said, other devices on your network are only going to lower your bit rate even more. So let's talk about multi-streaming for a second. Multi-streaming or streaming live to several platforms at the same time can also put a lot of load on your CPU and your bandwidth. To deal with it, you could use a cloud-based multi-streaming service like Restream. And Restream is pretty dope because it allows you to stream live to multiple social media platforms at one time. And through Rtmp, actually breaks up the amount of CPU usage, and it's a better experience. So definitely check out Restream. It's free. I know that there's a few on platforms on there that aren't free, but a lot of the majors on there are free. Another thing is malware, privacy tools and ad blockers. These totally use up some of your upload bandwidth. I would stop them, remove them, or block any of these undesired programs. Upload speeds can significantly affect the quality of your broadcast. So it's important to use a connection with enough upload speed. Next is latency. And for successful upload speeds, you're going to need low latency. So latency is the time that it takes for you to send a command up to the server and for them to process that command. So you want that to be as close to zero as possible. And the quicker that is, the better your live stream is going to be. So just because you have a high upload doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to have reduced latency. And another factor that can contribute to an upload killer is jitter. So jitter is damaging to your ability to provide a great user experience. So jitter is basically a disruption in the traffic. So everyone you send a packet to is going to get an acknowledgement. If that acknowledgement doesn't come, it automatically is going to try to resend those packets again and again and again, causing jitter. So latency and jitter are both two factors that should definitely be addressed when talking about your upload speed. And one last thing, a little tip for you guys. Down Detector. This is a pretty dope site. It's a great resource for real-time problems and outage monitoring. So they tell you when your favorite services are down and having problems. So before you think that it's your internet or your computer that's causing buffering, it very well could be an outage in your area. So we encourage you to check out Down Detector. It's free, and there's a ton of services on there, and most of them are covered, and it can let you know in real time what's going on out there. So this concludes our show for today. Once again, I'm Dave here at Electronic Music Collective, and we are a premier music production, mixing, and DJ training facility located downtown here in New York City. So whether you're new, just starting out, or if you're just experienced and want to learn more new skills or more new techniques, We currently are offering online classes and private lessons and can help get you to the next level. So please check out our website, electronicmusiccollective.com. Check out our social media platforms, and make sure to check out our future EMC shows that we have coming up. Thanks for joining us, and we will see you on the next episode.